Hello again, Leo. Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au. Cheers. It's February 2017. Just taking a snapshot look at your horoscope for the month. You know, this time of the year, we see your rule of the sun moving through the sign of Aquarius, which happens to be your seventh house, or that part of the zodiac which relates to your relationships. So naturally, this time of the year will enhance that part of your life because the sun is there. And it will continue there up until the 18th, at which point it moves to the 8th house in conjunction with the karmic south node, your past karma point, and also Neptune. So relationships, and then some pretty telling stuff going on, I think, related to your past. The 8th house has to do with sexuality, has to do with intimacy. You know, those deeper parts of your relationship that are often submerged. They also have to do with those submerged parts of your own individual personality. And when the nodes or those past karma points are moving through this area of the horoscope, you are confronted with that. You need to deal with that. And isn't it funny how relationships are usually the area in which we are tested to work through that stuff? I mean, it's pretty easy when you're just living alone, looking in the mirror. The image in the mirror doesn't argue with you. It doesn't demand that you change anything or adapt or accommodate any other opinion or lifestyle choice. So under these transits, we see a lot of adjustment taking place. It's significant too because on the 11th of the month, there is a very important full moon that is going to take place in your sun sign. This again is going to activate the sun in that 7th house. So this is a very powerful thing. The moon for you is ruling your 12th house. The 12th house is one of those houses like the 8th house, which is sort of little understood. All of this stuff is hidden stuff coming up and playing out in your relationship zone. Has to do with compassion, generosity, openness, and because the moon is your emotional life, pardon me, it is going to bring a lot of this stuff to the surface. What's more, as the month commences, we see the very close conjunction of the moon and Mars in your 9th house. So this moon and Mars in the sign of Aries, this is the triangular fire sign to your sun sign. So it also has a very marked impact upon your sun sign, along with Saturn transiting the other fire sign of Sagittarius in your 5th house of love affairs, children, creativity, so on and so forth. So where you've been held back in that area for some time, we've talked a lot about that, and for those of you that are new here, the 5th house transit of Saturn does sort of make things a little bit harder in terms of your relationships. It makes the creative process harder for many creative people. This is the classic case of writer's block, creative block. But having Mars in that fire sign of Aries can activate that and start to create a bit more of a push, especially now too because you've got Saturn and Uranus in the triangular position. Again in that fire sign, well, we've had that triangular position, just moved out, and now you've got the moon and Mars making a better sort of contact with Saturn, stimulating it, and I believe giving you that opportunity to be a little bit more creative than you have been over the recent past. You know, relationships aren't easy, and you know, when we see these planets activating these hidden parts of the zodiac, it can be a little bit of an overwhelming experience. To process all that stuff is not it's not easy. It's like you know, being a sandwich hand, then at lunchtime hits and you know, from nothing you've got 20 people in a queue all demanding that you make their sandwich now. So when these emotions come up, the demand is there for you to process that. And that's okay if you know how to process that, if you've been able to work through some of your past complexes, then you can cue that. But often it's not like that. The feelings are like an onslaught, and then you've got your partner or your spouse or whoever making demands. They've got their own issues, so that's when the tension arises, and that's what the Moon and Mars seems to be doing. Mars in your 9th house has to do also with your past karma, but it also has to do with educational pursuits, it has to do with travel, it has to do with legal matters. Generally Mars, which is a friendly planet, won't create too much turmoil for you, but it can distract you and cause you to have to redirect your energies into those areas. I guess putting out bushfires, being fire sign, of course. Having that drive there for educational pursuits is important. Having Uranus there as well shows that you've been, in the last year or so, interested in exploring what's possible in that dimension. So the Moon and Mars there is triggering that and making that more so the case. Mercury, if I have a look at your planet of communication, moves to your 7th house on February 7. It's currently there in the 6th house. A lot of communication about your work, and also maybe some health issues that you have to deal with during the first week of the month. Your rule of the Sun generally is producing a nice aspect, being in the triangular position to Jupiter in your 3rd house of communication, negotiations and contracts, all faring very well. But you do have some difficulties there around the 18th, and then on the 22nd, Sun moves to the 8th house, shared resources, so all taxation, banking and all that sort of stuff. Attend to those matters while Sun is transiting through this area. Don't forget, you can get a more detailed analysis, as I always say to you, at the site, my website, astrology.com.au. We've also got the yearly reading there now, which covers a whole lot of different areas, and you can get this snapshot reading of February in the context of what's going on in the bigger picture. Do take a look there, and until next month, I hope you stay well, take care, hope to see you very soon.